Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video I wanted to do an update on Gwyneth because she will be leaving Raid Up in only a bit over 5 days from right now, and I want to give you my overall opinions, and I think this is important. I will be doing this in the future for any really major heroes that have been released, because one thing I noticed were there's some people who really regretted not over investing into Freerin during her banner and finding out later on that actually she's a major Paragon priority and a real strong hypercarry in PvP. So I wanted to talk about Gwyneth right now because even if you have missed out on Freerin, Gwyneth is also one of the top tier hypercarries in the meta currently. She doesn't depend on her ultimate. She is purely normal attack damage focus, and she can burst enemies within seconds of a battle beginning. She is, in my opinion, one of the top 3 hypercarries in the current meta, which are Freerin, Sylphira, and Gwyneth. And they are on a tier of their own, basically SSS tier in terms of hypercarry damage units for PvP. And I do think there probably is going to be a pretty long-term value of Gwyneth when it comes to PvP because of the fact that she's not ultimate based. That is really, this is the only hero in the whole game that we have that doesn't rely on ultimate to be really nuking down the enemy team. Perseus arguably also can do the same thing without ultimate, but melee heroes just in this game are far weaker compared to ranged due to their survival issues and other thing, and not, you know, the greatest form of protection. So now the next thing which will come to mind is for your account specifically, okay, even if you know Gwyneth is a top hypercarry, is it worth you Paragon upgrading her, and how far should you go, and what type of team are you going to build around her? So what I want to show you now is just show you the team concept ideas revolving around Gwyneth. Basically is very simple. As for the artifact, the best artifact for Gwyneth, if you have it available for any of your content, is going to be Wingguard spell for that additional protection, and then also granting attack and steadfast. Like, all those things are really valuable things for ranged hypercarries. Now your core of your team comp, it can be multiple, and if we're talking about Phantomals, you can go for a light bearer team like as a budget team option. I did show you guys an example of this in my recent regular arena videos with Gwyneth and Freerin. But basically this core is going to be a strong option also for seasonal content, Supreme League, Supreme Arena. This is going to be a strong core. 3 of the strongest light bearer heroes in the game, and Hugin buffing out Gwyneth is a very good buff effect, and if you're running it with like the Wingguard spell that already provides steadfast to your team, then she's already going to be pretty well protected from enemy crowd control already. So you can definitely go for a team like this. Along with this, Alicent is one of the best partners, and the thing is, a lot of players, even not the high spenders, they have invested into Alicent due to her Dream Realm usage over the past few seasons. And so if you have Alicent, the best partner in my opinion in the game right now to pair Alicent with is Gwyneth. And then if you want to go for a free-to-play final option, Ravion is going to be like the icing on top of the cake, because he's going to further attack buff up your Gwyneth, give them unaffected at the beginning of battle, and then also he will provide the Lifesaver shield one time if he's still alive, and that is massive value. And when you talk about this season specifically, Aurelian is further going to buff up your Gwyneth with the unfair contract, which is going to be up to another 24% basically attack buff to Gwyneth, which is very strong. So if you look at a team comp like this is not very pay to win, and of course if you don't even have Alicent, you can replace with some other supportive hero, like even in this team if you wanted to go for Ravion Lilymate, that would be fine. Ravion Sleece, whatever, there are a bunch of different options basically, but this is just showing you that you can make some really strong budget comps revolving around Gwyneth. Now definitely if we talk about how Gwyneth becomes a lot stronger, it is using heroes like Gunnar. Gunnar is the best ally to have in front of Gwyneth for PvP if you haven't built, and even you're noticing for some Dream Realm content that also Gunnar is working in the same way, buffing up Gwyneth. But for PvP specifically, Gunnar in front of Gwyneth is the strongest protection she can have, because 3 seconds in the battle she'll be invincible as long as Gunnar is above a certain health ratio, and also she'll be steadfast for the whole battle, so even if you won't depend on your artifact, right? So Gunnar is going to be great. Apart from this though, other heroes which synergize really well with Gwyneth are Kulu. Kulu provides a melee protection with putting up this boulders, and also she gives range defense buff to your whole team. team. So Kulu is another hero that, like, for example, if you don't have Alicent, but like for some reason you have Kulu and you want to go for this light bearer team for PvP, this is also going to be a very viable option, very, very strong option. Doesn't have to be Alicent, right? And of course, though, if you want to go for the pay to win side of things, then you'll want Gunner, Gwyneth, and Alicent, of course. Alicent, and this is basically almost what I'm going to be running for, almost what I run for my Supreme Arena right now, and also basically what I'm going to be running for my Supreme League, at least one of the teams. So if you run a team like this, obviously we want to change around the positioning a bit. Like I prefer to run it in such a positioning, because then you basically, the gunner is going to be shielding everyone from the beginning of the battle. So yeah, a team like this is incredibly strong. And other allies which synergize really well with Gwyneth are heroes like Callan for further protection, further shielding, because your Gwyneth is going to carry you. All you need now is to keep her alive. And basically a comp like this is just geared towards keeping Gwyneth alive, also buffing her with the Alicent and Gunner buffs, and even the explosive debuffs on the enemy of Kulu. And so like a team like this is basically, this is, in my opinion, the second strongest team in the game right now when it comes to PvP. Only losing out kind of consistently. Well, I mean, it does lose out to some other teams, but basically, it has probably the second highest win rate of teams. The only first one above it would be Ulna and Sylphira, which is basically what I would consider the Exodia for this current season. But yeah, teams like this is just showing you that Gwyneth is going to have great value as a normal attack damage dealer, and not dependent on ultimate is always going to be a huge advantage for you. And so when we consider all of these factors, Gwyneth is a monster of a PvP hero. And I basically, what I'm saying here in the purpose of this video is that I don't want you guys to miss out on Gwyneth if, for example, you missed out on Freerin. Now, if, for example, you just committed a lot of resources to your Freerin, you don't have much diamonds left or rate up letters or anything like that, then it's fine. You can take your Gwyneth to Supreme Plus. She'll have her value for PvE for Dream Realm, which we didn't even talk about yet. I need to talk about that, so I'll talk about that later. But for PvP, your plan can be you'll gradually build her up on your wish list and upgrade her over time. However, if you are a PvP focused player and you have enough resources to rush Gwyneth to Paragon 2 right now, and then maybe you can get the remaining copies on wish list to get her Paragon 4 over time, I think that would be a really ideal basically investment. And then also level up her exclusive equipment, refine it up to level 2 at least, because, you know, when we think about things, if you have like a Paragon 2 level 2 refinement Gwyneth, and you have a comp center around her, whether it be the Lightbearer team we showed you or a Gunner team, it is going to beat Paragon 4 other enemy hypercarry teams, like Paragon 4 Shmira comps, Paragon 4 Tossie comps, because these other hypercarries, even though you may have a Paragon advantage on them, unfortunately, they just have been power crept. They are not able to keep up with the new most powerful heroes being released. And so Gwyneth at Paragon 2 is going to be beating, as long as you have a well built out comp to protect the Gwyneth. Of course, Gwyneth needs protection. Maybe I didn't highlight that enough in my showcase of the teams, but basically just to highlight on this point, Gwyneth needs protection, whether it be Alicent, whether it be Ravion, that's a form of protection, Hugin shielding, things like that, or whether it be Gunner, even ideally, whether it be Kulu, Callan, things like that. But basically, if you do not have the protection for Gwyneth, you are going to be in trouble. Because she can be, just like any hypercarry, she can be killed, and she doesn't have any survival of her own. Heroes like Freerin are a little bit on the luxury side because she has defensive magic, she has a bit of survival on her own, but still not enough that she can just take an onslaught of the enemy team. So you still have to have some protection for Freerin, but Gwyneth needs as much protection as any hypercarry needs. Basically, Sylphira. Sylphira needs she needs protection with like an Ulna. Gwyneth, I mean, the thing is, and this is the other thing, if you haven't built up Sylphira, you can even protect Gwyneth with Ulna. You can protect her with Gunner. You can protect her with a multitude of things, but basically she needs something to protect her, otherwise she's not going to get off her value. But if you have that one thing to protect her, she is going to win you fights, even against enemy Paragon 4 Shmira comps, Paragon 4 Tossie comps, assuming your team is mostly Paragon 4 and you have like a Paragon 2 Gwyneth, right? So that's basically what I'm saying. I think Paragon 2 is enough to actually make use of her and actually be competitive and make her be a better option for you than running like a Shmira. And also the other thing, if you're going to try to compete in Supreme League, you're going to need 5 teams. And so like even if you're running a Shmira team or you're running a Tossie team, you know, you probably don't have enough hypercarries to go around that, you know, Gwyneth will probably have to be one of the teams that you end up building, even if you can invest very highly into her. But overall, I'm just trying to say that Gwyneth is one of the top hypercarries in PvP right now. She is one of the biggest Paragon priorities currently as we stand today. The biggest 3 Paragon priorities as we stand today are Freerin, Sulfura, and Gwyneth. And of course, Sulfura is out of the question for anyone other than a very high spender who's buying the stellar pop-ups and things. So it's Freerin and Gwyneth. These are the top 2 Paragon priorities in the game. And also refinement of their exclusive equipment priorities. And so for those reasons, that is why she's such a big hero to be picking up on. Especially if maybe you missed out on Freerin. So yeah, that was our whole point behind this video, just to make sure and that you guys are making a good decision about your Gwyneth. Now, of course, if you're talking about Dream Realm, we'll talk about that now. Dream Realm, she's totally fine as Supreme Plus. I mean, she's a damage deal for Dream Realm, mainly pre-Endless Dream Realm. She's probably going to be phased out when we move on to Phase 2 and Phase 3 of Endless Dream Realm. So she's going to have a limited shelf life, basically, in Dream Realm. Potentially, if we get the speed boss killing mode, which was, I think, hinted at in the final phase of the season. Potentially, if it is like pre-endless type of a boss, then potentially we can see Gwyneth again at that point. And so there's some value there. But for Dream Realm, largely, she is not the most meta hero, although she is meta, right? So for the Dream Realm angle, Supreme Plus is enough. And you can gradually Paragon over time on your wish list because she is a Paragon priority. The final thing I want to mention is that even if you're a little bit reluctant, unsure about of Gwyneth, and maybe you're thinking, what if a better hero comes along later on in the season? We do have we'll have a swap ticket, right? So that's the other value. She's the first S level of the season. She'll be able to swap into any other S level this season of the main 4 factions. So this is an important point because we're probably going to get a dimensional S level. That's what's expected or predicted for us. And unfortunately, regular factions cannot be swapped into dimensional. That would be really good if it could. So that does limit the use of the swap ticket a little bit because if we're getting like a dimensional, probably going to be an S level, just I'm assuming. Then maybe we get less S level rate up heroes for this season. So that is one thing we have to consider. But like basically, your investment in Gwyneth is really safe. And worst comes to worst, you will have a swap ticket. And I do find it unlikely that there will be a hero more meta than Gwyneth of the S levels to come out this season. I find it unlikely. And even if it is, you can swap, right? So anyway, guys, those are my thoughts about Gwyneth. I think she's a major Paragon upgrade priority, especially if you are PvP focused, especially if you're planning to compete in Supreme League. And of course, for the higher spenders, I think you need to take her to Paragon 4. It's an absolute must, and refine her exclusive equipment all the way to level 4. She is one of the top 3 priorities for that. Freerin, Sulfura, and Gwyneth. Those are the 3 heroes that run the PvP metagame currently where we stand. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching. And if you're thinking about making a purchase in AFK Journey, please use my affiliate link for the official Farlight store. This is the best way you can support me and also gain 5% bonus dragon crystals on your purchase. My affiliate link is in the description of this video and a pinned comment. And you can actually bookmark this link in your browser. And whenever you're planning to make a purchase, just return to the bookmark link and make your purchase. It will support me and be greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.